Welcome back, everyone, to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, expert authority coach, Christine Blosdale, and I am so excited I feel like it's Christmas morning or my birthday or something special because I have been so excited about having my guest on today. It's been quite a while since I've begged this person to come on the show, and he is with us today in all of his glory. Rob Goyette is joining me today, and he has been serving up, the coaching community for many, many years, since 2007. And I didn't even know coaches were around then. No, yes, they were. Okay. He's supported many of the leaders in the coaching niche, and his expertise is both in marketing and technology. And he has a very clever way of combining the two. He is known as the creator of the fast revenue laser coaching model. And he also has some other programs that we're going to be talking about that you, if you're a coach or a consultant or a service provider in any way, you absolutely need to be listening to this program. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back with my guest, Rob Goyette.
Did you know that podcasting is the new gold rush? Companies like Apple, Google, and Amazon certainly know that it is, and that's why they're wanting more podcast shows from interesting and beautiful souls just like you. Christine Blosdale is the author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Your Amazing Itty Bitty Podcast Book, and she wants to help you get your very own podcast out into the world. So to book a free podcast strategy session with Christine, visit ChristineBlosdale.com. Again, that's ChristineBlosdale.com and schedule a consultation. And trust me, you'll be happy that you did.
And we're back with my extra special guest, Rob Goyette, who is the creator of the Fast Revenue Laser Coaching Program. Rob, see, I'm like starstruck. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Christine. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you know what? I like smart people. And when I find in my adventures online, things that come to me in my email, when I travel around and I bump into someone who I believe is really clever, really smart, has nailed it, right? Then I get the goosebumps. I call them Blosdale goosebumps. And it's just, I'm not going to get woo-woo unicorny on you, but it's sort of like the universe going, yes, that's it. And that's what I felt when I came across, especially your fast revenue laser coaching program. But before we let the listeners and the viewers on YouTube know about this particular program that is so spot on perfect for coaches, tell me about your journey into coaching, because I know you have many, many clients all around the world, but how did you get started in this business?
Sure. Yeah, a lot of coaches know the name Christian Michelson. He's kind of one of the bigger players in the coaching space, maybe even the biggest. I was actually friends with him before he became the celebrity that he is in the coaching space. And so I was sort of on an internet marketing trail. I was learning about metrics and AdWords and SEO and all that stuff. And Christian and I, we were already friends. He reached out and told me that his business was going really well because he was helping coaches get clients. And I asked him, I said, hey, could I join your team and help you with some of your internet marketing? And he said yes. And I ended up staying on his team for 7 years. And over that time, I really got to understand the coaching industry. I fell in love with coaches as an audience because they're so heart-centered. They want to help people. In fact, a joke Christian made to me one time, I said, hey, Christian, we could take your stuff and probably sell it over in the internet marketing world. And he sort of distinguished the two audiences very broadly, but he's like, well, he said, coaches, they just want to help people, and we need to teach them that it's okay to make money. And he said, internet marketers, oftentimes they just want to make money, and we need to teach them that it's okay to help people. And I laughed at that.
That's
of course,
gold.
it was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's playing around, but the thing is just like I fell in love with the coach audience. Just they're so caring, and they really, really want to get results for their clients. So being on Christian's team for 7 years, I got to know his business. I got to know a lot of his JV partners, and 7 years later, when we parted ways, we're still on good terms. We live a mile from each other here in Puerto Rico. But when I went out on my own, I leveraged some of the contacts I had made in his business, And these people help support me to build an audience. And then from there, I nurtured that audience, built a relationship with them, and then created what turned out to be irresistible offers for the coaching world.
And that's what every coach is looking for, are those irresistible offers, because you're right. We are heart-centered. I know I am a teacher in the most basic form, right? I think when I went to college, I went to get my teaching degree, and I think I majored in English and minored in physical education. I was going to be that coach. I was going to be that coach that could also teach your kids how to read. And I remember when I graduated and I looked and I saw the first salary that you get as a teacher in Los Angeles. And I was like, oh no. And they send you to some place that you're like, wow, oh my gosh. And I was disillusioned because I really wanted to teach. I love teaching people how to do things, right? And so for many years, I just was searching. I had these odd jobs. I did this and that. I had a very good career in radio for 20 years, partially because of my voice, but also because, again, I love teaching people. And so I was teaching them in a way through the airwaves, through Los Angeles radio airwaves. But when it came time for me to become a coach is when it all came together, because you do care about your clients. You want to see that growth. You want to see them get their business out into the world so that they can have a good living and support their family and feel good about themselves. But many coaches experience something called imposter syndrome. And on top of that, if you have someone who's a life coach or a personal development or a spirituality type coach, they have a really hard time about asking for money. It's like, it's that, that dance that they do, and they really are uncomfortable with it. But you have developed these programs, and it's not just the one, but you have developed these programs that make it an irresistible offer because it's so damn good. Can you let's talk about the first one we were mentioning, the fast revenue laser coaching model, because most coaches, and I'm one of them, we set up I've got an hour session, I've got a 2-hour session, one-on-one, and I also have 4-week programs. I have not ventured into the 10, 15, 20-week things. But for the most part, there's a session, there's an exchange for money. Here's an hour, here's an exchange for money. But you have something completely different with this model. Can you share with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'd like to preface, like all of my programs, but all of your programs, and really the way to sell anything, it's real simple. And this is how I create all my programs. This is how I troubleshoot all my marketing. This is how I support clients when they're figuring out, why aren't people buying my stuff? You really have to have 2 elements in place. They are trust and an irresistible offer. If people don't trust you, they're not going to hire you. And if your offer is not irresistible, they're not going to hire you. And if I may, I'd love to go into just a little bit of detail here because it really sets the foundation for selling our programs. Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So people need to trust us on 2 levels. The first level is they need to trust us as a person, that we're honest. And that one's usually pretty easy to accomplish. But that's why we say things like where we live or what our family situation is, or tell a personal story. It's so they're like, okay, this isn't some hacker in their basement trying to steal my credit card number. This is a real person, right? So they need to trust that we're honest. And the second level, and this one's important, is they need to trust that we are truly the expert who can help them get the results they want. If I go out there and I say, hey, I can help pregnant women in their 3rd trimester know what to expect, people might think, well, I trust him. I believe that he believes that, but he's not a woman. And how would he know? And things like that. So people need to trust that we're honest, but also that we really can help them. And so we want to maximize that trust. That's the first part. The second part is the irresistible offer, which also has 2 levels. One level is people need to understand the offer. They need to understand the inputs and outputs. What's the time, energy, and money they're going to put into our offer? And what's the very likely result they're going to get? This one escaped me for a long time because we all come up with these great ideas for programs and offers, and we just sort of assume people know what's involved, what they're going to do, and what they're going to get. But if we need to maybe not dumb it down, but really make it obvious so that they understand this is the time, energy, and money I'm going to put into this thing, and this is the very likely result I'm going to get. And then the second part of this is that result needs to be a no-brainer in terms of value versus price. So 10x is a good rule. If you're selling something for $1,000, deliver at least $10,000 in value. So yeah, so if you've got those two things in place, though, trust and an irresistible offer, people will buy. And you can think about it this way. Every time you've enrolled a client or sold a program, they had to trust you at some level, and your offer had to be irresistible at some level. And if people aren't buying, that's all it is. It's either trust or an irresistible offer or both. So I just wanted to preface that because that's how I came up with and sold laser coaching. It's how I've sold a lot of my programs. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's so important. And I think you nailed it. And that's why also I tell my clients that it's how important it is to be either have a photograph of yourself or be even better, be on video. Because when you're on video, people can look in your eyes and they can see who you are. You aren't some guy in a basement with shifty eyes trying to get their credit card, but you're relatable as well. So that's really, really important. So the trust factor, and with the trust factor, building that up, because if you're brand new, let's say, it's kind of hard maybe to connect with that. But if you've been coaching for a while and you've had clients of any stripes, testimonials, do those help build the trust factor? Either video testimonials or like a photo and written testimonials. Does that help build the trust factor?
Yeah, I like to teach that there are 3 levels of testimonials. There's a character level testimonial, a results, and then a product specific. So if you're just starting out, you might have a character testimonial. And in fact, when I was starting out, that's what I didn't have any programs, but Christian Michelson said something to the effect of, there's no one on earth I trust more than Rob when it comes to web related marketing decisions. And so I grabbed that. I put that everywhere. And even though my first product was around doing automated webinars, I didn't have any testimonials saying Rob's great at automated webinars, but I said, here's somebody who trusts me more than anyone. Then I had another, a few more, but they were all character level testimonials saying, Rob, you can trust him. It's on that first level. He's honest, right?
Yes.
Now, as we progress in our business, then we can get results level testimonials where we've really helped people. It might not be with the exact same program that we're selling, but like, oh, wow, I worked with Christine and I tripled my income. Maybe not with this program that we're talking about, but she knows what she's doing. She understood where I was, met me where I was, took me where I wanted to be. Like, she is awesome to work with. If you have a chance to work with Christine, run, don't walk. You should work with her, run toward her, not away. And then the third level is the program or product specific testimonial, where it's like, I bought this very same product and I got these results. And so people are saying, oh, wow, if I buy that exact same product, maybe I'll get those results too.
Really important. And Rob, you're the master of 3s as well. And this is what I've learned, that really is really important in coaching, in being a coach of coaches or a coach of the average person that's walking the street, is we resonate with 3s. So when you're teaching someone something, for some reason, when you do the 3 steps, or there's 3 things that you need to do, it sets. And as opposed to, you got to do this. I tell people, you're giving folks too many choices. When you have too many choices, what happens? You make none, right? So I love that you've mentioned the 3 things: the trust, the trust testimonial, the what was the other one? The results testimonial, and then the product specific.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes.
Character, results, and product.
Yes, love that.
Yeah.
So take notes, coaches. So the fast revenue laser coaching model, very different, and this is the irresistible offer, isn't it? Because that's a pretty irresistible offer, I've got to say. But as a coach, it makes me nervous, Rob. I go, wait a second. Can you explain what the offer is, or what the program is, and how you help coaches, of course, implement this?
Yeah. So I came up with this. It was back in 2015, so it was a while ago, and I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. My prices were, I think, $3,000 a month for to work, and our calls were like 2 hours long, and we'd meet every week, kind of similar to what you were talking about with having those long coaching calls. And I noticed that a lot of those calls, there was a lot of sort of, so how's the weather? What else should we talk about? Like, if we really got down to it, because I knew what they wanted and I knew how to help them get it, our coaching calls could be a lot shorter than 2 hours. It could be more like, here's what you need to do before we talk next. And so I thought, I wonder if people would sign up for a shorter duration. And I was struggling to get clients at the time. Like, a lot of people weren't ready to part with $3,000 a month, even though we had some trust. Like, for whatever reason, my offer wasn't irresistible anymore to at least the people I kept pitching it to. So I thought, what would make it irresistible? And I thought, well, what if people could have like a year of unlimited calls with me? What would that look like? So like a year of unlimited 15-minute calls. Because again, I'm thinking I need some money, and what could I do? I'm willing to work hard. Yeah, what would that look like? And so I kind of thought about it, and it was scary. I thought, wow, I mean, that could really,
Yeah,
I
that
could have
scares
one
me.
client. Yeah, it scared me too.
Unlimited.
And my wife,
It's like the salad bar, or like the all you can eat buffet in the Vegas casino. It's like what
it
makes me
is.
nervous.
It is. And here's the thing though, is it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. The metaphor that I like to use is that it's like joining a gym for a year and being able to work out as much as you want. What happens is people have a lot of calls in that first month. They work out every other day or whatever, once a week. But then by month 2, they're working out less. And by month 3, even less. And over time, I measured these and actually had a student who really documented everything. The average client had 7.2 of these 15-minute calls. Actually, the first call is 30 minutes. So over a year. Now, some clients had like 20 calls. They were out there working out using this program. Others had 1 or 2. I have a testimonial from someone saying, I only had 1 laser call with you, and it was worth way more than I paid for it. So in other words, like, that person just got a really good workout and didn't need to come back to the gym. But the average was 7.2. And so what that told me is that, well, maybe I didn't know all this stuff yet. First, I had to figure out the price. It's like, what should I charge for a year of unlimited calls? I'm charging $3,000 a month for like just for 4 calls a month, and whatever the math is there, 48 calls. What about unlimited? And I thought, well, we need to make it irresistible. What if it was $1,000 a year? Like, compared to the $3,000 a month, $997 a year breaks out to less than $84 a month. So $84 versus $3,000. Would that be irresistible? And I thought, by the law of contrast, yes, it would. So I got all excited, and I was going to put this out to my list and say, unlimited coaching with Rob, less than for a year of unlimited coaching for what works out to less than $84 a month. Click here to sign up. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. This really could get out of hand and get crazy. So I came up with the idea of a homework rule. It's like, I'll meet with the client for those 15 minutes and we'll agree on homework. It's not me making life difficult for them, but it's not them skating by either. It's homework that'll really move them forward. And when they've done their homework, they can schedule their next call. In other words, they can come to the gym, but they actually have to work out before they can come back. And so I thought, okay, that'll make this a little more reasonable. And the other thing is, I thought it could still go crazy. I better limit it to the number of people. And scarcity helps with our marketing also. So I limited it to 8 clients. So I put the offer out to my list. My list was maybe 3,000 people back then. And 8 people signed up very quickly. And so I got my first 8 clients, and they were having their calls. It was January, and they were working out. And I was staying kind of busy. But then I noticed in February, I didn't have a lot of calls booked. And I thought, So I put out another 8 spots. And 8 more people signed up, and they started working out in February. And then some of the January people were coming over and doing some working out. But by the end of that year, I had enrolled over 50 one-on-one clients and was able to manage them all just because of the way they sort of trail off. They do most of their coaching early on. And and the model works really well. What's really cool though, and some coaches might say, well, $84 a month for my time, it's worth so much more than that. And if you're having between 7 and 8 calls, you're earning about $500 an hour for your time, which hopefully that's okay, or at least you can deal with that. But the real value is you get to spend those calls with a potential person who could buy your higher end programs. And I sold a lot of what I call VIP weekends to laser coaching clients. They'd work with me and they wouldn't be doing their homework as much as they thought they would, that type of thing, or they wanted results faster. And I said, well, I do have this 3-day program. We spend 3 days together one-on-one, and we set up your entire marketing funnel, your lead magnet, nurture sequence, automated webinar, all this stuff. We set it all up within 3 days, and then I'll give you 2 years of laser coaching support afterwards to make sure if you have any questions or get stuck. And so a lot of my laser coaching clients, what I let them do is I let them apply that $1,000 they spent on the laser coaching toward the VIP weekend. They love that. That way it's like they got the laser coaching for free and they're saving face. So let them apply that toward the VIP weekend. And because we had done some coaching together, we had more trust. And so it was easier for them to say yes to a higher priced, irresistible offer.
Oh, that's clever. That is really smart because, yeah, you're developing that trust and that relationship with them. But getting them in, that's half the battle, because you could be the most genius, brilliant, amazing coach with the wisdom of the gods. But if you can't get anyone to come see you or talk to you, it's wasted, right?
Yeah.
So you need something, you need that, well, in marketing terms, that like that lead magnet, that thing that brings them in. And instead of just always having sort of, get my ebook or watch this video, which people never watch, it's lovely. It's a lovely thought, but very rarely do they actually sit down and watch an entire video. You need to have them with you. You need to have that potential long-term client or high-ticket client. You need to have them with you and communicate with them so that they can see how brilliant you are or how talented you are and what you can do for them. That's really most important. So I do love this model. So it's 15-minute sessions, right? Unlimited, but they need to, with the agreed upon homework or assignments, you make sure that you do this. So if I'm an expert authority coach, as I am, and if I'm doing this with someone, one of my things might be, look, we need to get you out there into the media. We need to get you on TV. We need to get you on podcasts. We need to have a beautiful headshot. And they'll send me a picture, and it's a selfie from 10, 15 years ago when they were maybe 10 kilo lighter. And they're like, how about this? And I said, no, it's out of focus. It's old. You need a professional headshot. So that might be something that would be an assignment or a homework thing. Once you get your professional headshots, then you can book your next session with me, right?
Yep. And you learn quickly. The first time a client does that, then when you have that second client, you say, and don't just send me any old photo. This needs to be a professional headshot. And so you save yourself that back and forth of future clients doing it. So we learn as we go. What are going to be the obstacles with the homework, the challenges, what questions are people going to have? But yeah, it ended up working really well. And I was pretty relaxed about the homework. I mean, as long as people told me they did it or made an effort, or they could even reach out and say, you know what, I'm really struggling with the homework and help. And I'd say, you know what, let's just have another call. It's only 15 minutes. And the cool thing about this, Christine, is I found that at the end of these 15-minute calls, I had more energy than when I started versus these 1 to 2 hour coaching calls where like at the end, I'm ready to call it a day. Right. They're energizing. And when clients do their homework, it is so exciting because they're making progress and they're excited and you're excited. So yeah, I feel like 15 minutes is awesome. And I've got a coach on my team who does mindset coaching, and she needs 20 minutes for her laser coaching. And that's okay. Like I recommend 15, all things equal, but you might have a reason for making it a little bit different than that. But it probably will not take as long as you first imagine it you'll need for these coaching calls.
So if you're having 15-minute sessions with, and I heard that what you said then that first year you signed up 50 people, which if it's $1,000, was $1,000 a year, $1,000 for the program. So that's 50 grand. 50 grand, that's not bad. But with the 15 minutes, would you in your schedule, would you block out half an hour? Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't want to have it be 15 minutes. Do you block out half an hour for each of those appointments?
Yeah, that's you can. There's so many ways to do it, but
Yeah.
the first thing I want to mention is, yeah, we do use a scheduler, which is cool because like I was using Time Trade at first, and then I moved over to Acuity. Some people use Calendly or Book Like a Boss or whatever. You can use whatever you want, but what's cool about that is you're then in control of when you're going to coach. It's not like this client that meets with you every Tuesday at 9 and you have to bend your schedule around this commitment you have. They go based on what your scheduler says is available, and you can schedule days off or whatever. So I was working primarily Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to noon, and those are the times people could choose. If I signed up a bunch of clients, I might open up and work on Mondays. I tried to take Fridays off, but I usually schedule these half-day blocks. And then when I noticed that people weren't working out as much that next month, I might even just close off another day where I was only coaching on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. As far as like the back-to-back, yeah, I tried it all sorts of ways. I tried 15-minute back-to-back calls, and I was able to make it work and even get the recordings out between the calls, even though they were within 1 minute of each other. Yeah, it's cool how there's a way to do that. And I can talk about it if you want. But what I now recommend is people set a 15-minute buffer. So in most scheduling software, you can say, this is the appointment type. It's a 15-minute call, and I want a 15-minute buffer. Yeah. That way you don't have the back-to-back. However, the very first call with clients, I recommend that being 30 minutes. That's also the refund period. So in other words, somebody, they paid their money, no strategy session, they sign up through email or whatever. So you've been paid already. They show up and they're having that first call to make sure it's perfect. Your job is to do what you talked about earlier, where you're looking them in the eye and you're being a great listener. You're really just listening to what it is they want to make sure this is the right program for them. And the less we talk, the more sold they are. The more people get to talk, the more, yeah, they like you, and it builds rapport. Yeah. So during that first call, it's 30 minutes to really understand the client's situation and come up with their first homework assignment. But then after that, it's 15. So what I do now when I do laser coaching is I just, I have the 15-minute call and then the 15-minute buffer. But I will also use that very same link for a first call with somebody, knowing that we're going to use up all that buffer and just having the next, it's rare, but I might have a call right after that. And if that happens, yeah, I've gotten good enough with it that I can end the call on time and start the next call. But you don't have to. You could have a separate link for that 30-minute call, or you could give yourself a 30-minute buffer instead of 15. Yeah, you can do all sorts of creative ways to handle it. But you're right. It did sort of throw me off a little bit when I saw I had 2 15-minute calls back to back with no buffer. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to try it and see what happens. You know, people, especially coaches, they're so heart-centered and like they're pretty understanding. So, you know, if I'm a minute late, I can explain.
Yes.
By the way,
yes.
if clients are late to calls or don't show up, may I talk about
how please do. That? Please do, okay. Because
not that it ever happens.
No, but that's a big no. Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially if you're dealing with a lot of clients, some of them are going to be late. Some of them aren't going to show up. And so I do this with JV partners. I do this with clients is I show up a minute early. So I'm there when they get on. And if as soon as they are 1 minute late, I send them out an email to this effect. I say something like, oh, well, I don't send them a fresh email. I reply to the confirmation they got. Therefore, it proves it's today, it's at this time, like I'm not crazy. I'm not the one misremembering. So I reply to the original email. And sometimes I notice I got it wrong. I got the wrong time. I'm like, oh, it's not for, I was thinking it was 10:30. It's actually 10:45. So sometimes I've made that mistake. But when I'm right, I reply to that email with their confirmation and I say, hey, Christine, I'm on the line for our Zoom call. Here's the link in case, here's the link for your convenience or in case you can't find it. So I make, because sometimes that's the reason that people don't show up is they can't find the link. So here's the link. If you need to reschedule, it's no problem. Actually, I'm doing this from memory, but what I say is I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes. But if you need to reschedule, it's no problem. Here's the link. Hope to talk to you now or soon. And so what I'm saying is my time is really valuable. I'll wait a few minutes. But if you're not here, I'm going to hang up. And if you need to reschedule, no hard feelings, no problem. Here's the link to reschedule and hope to talk to you now or soon. So I give them that Zoom link in case they don't have it. And some people, that is the case. And then the people that do forget or they don't really respect my time, after that, they always respect my time. They're always there on time. And so it's a neat little email. And if you want later on, I could send you the exact email because I'm just doing it from memory, but those are the elements.
Oh, I like that. I use, and where you're talking about the different booking programs, there's Calendly, Acuity, and a couple different ones. I use Book Like a
Yeah.
Boss
Mm-hmm.
because, first of all, it's a very cool name, but because I can create events, I can create products, I can create services, I can create appointments. And what I love about it is that I can set up in the back end the reminders. And so I don't have to send anything out. And I do this for my strategy calls. I have a 30-minute free consultation call. I have a VIP 2-hour call. I have all these different things, right? And even with the events that I create, my workshops, I have it set up so they'll be reminded, 7 days out. They'll be reminded 3 days out. They'll get another reminder the day of. They'll get a reminder an hour before. If I want, I'll even have it 10 minutes before. So it's basically, they're just constantly being reminded, by the way, you have a thing. And right there in that reminder is a way for them to reschedule or to rebook or cancel. So there's never an excuse for somebody just not showing up.
Yeah.
The other day, someone, a client who actually was going to be signing up for a 4-week program with me, very excited. I was excited. They were excited. All was good. And it was our first session. And I was interested because I was like, I haven't gotten paid yet for this program. And she was so excited, and I was excited. And I'm sitting in Zoom, like going, where? Oh, what? I wonder what happened. And of course, like at first you go like, oh, what's going wrong? Did I say something wrong? I think so. I emailed because I know those reminder emails were going to them, and so I emailed and I said, I'm worried about you. I don't know, what's happened. And they wrote me back and they just said, I'm so sorry. I had to go to emergency hospital, and I don't know what's happening, and I'm sorry I missed the session. I'm sorry I missed our conversation together. And I was like, okay. But
Yeah.
it was and that's understandable, folks. You know, things, family emergencies and things like that, that's totally understandable. But I do want people to respect the time of the coaches, and especially even if you're getting a free consultation, you know, because that person's time is so valuable, and they're setting aside and they're not taking a paid client in order to give you that free consultation or that free strategy session or free breakthrough session. So I hope people do respect that. Coaches as well as business people and solopreneurs, just make sure that you do honor that time. That's important. So the 15 minute, okay, so I got that. I've wrapped my head around that. Now, this is a great concept, and I could see coaches going, okay, I'm going to implement that. But I think that instead of just starting off on their own, it might be handy if they actually get some advice from you because you've been doing it, on how to do those calls and how to handle those calls. Is there a way for people to learn more about that through your, do you have a website that you'd like to announce?
Yeah. It's a landing page versus a website, and
Oh,
that there are
yes.
all sorts of marketing things around that, right? But yeah, I've got a free report that goes into detail about the laser coaching model. It says it in a
Beautiful.
more organized fashion than maybe I shared it on this call. And there's also a webinar that you're invited to where I go into a lot more detail. And I do have a program for sale at the end of the webinar, but you could actually just take what you get on the webinar. Some people do that. They can't afford the program, so they watch the webinar, they go get a laser coaching client or two, and then they can afford the program, and then they get it. And then I make it super easier. The rule of threes, what people want is faster, easier, and better results. And so like you can watch my webinar and figure it out yourself. I mean, I give you all the facts, but you could make it out happen. But if you want faster, easier, and better results, then I have a course to make it even more
Beautiful.
powerful.
Beautiful. And then and then this is why I wanted you on the show. I could have you on for hours and hours, but I won't because I know your time's valuable. But um then you have something, and I hadn't thought, well, I had thought about it, but in a different way. Um and I'm so excited about this because I want to know about this. I want to know the the VIP weekends. 3-day VIP weekends. Can you talk about that? Because that makes me very excited.
Yeah. Well, and in both cases, with the laser coaching and the VIP weekends, I never sold these with strategy sessions. So I was only talking to people who had paid me first, and I love that about some of these programs and the offers. So with the VIP weekends, essentially what it is it's spending 3 days with a client to set them up for a system to get ongoing results. So if you're a weight loss coach, you set them up with a system of what to eat and exercise and whatever, supplements, whatever your system is, you set them up with that over 3 days. You set clients up with a system for success. And then I suggest you offer a year or two of some sort of light coaching. I offered laser coaching. I offered 2 years because there was a payment plan involved that went out beyond a year. Offer a couple of years of some kind of support or unlimited email support or group mastermind, whatever helps them feel supported. Because one concern they'll have is you'll spend these 3 days together and then they're on their own. So and I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of these VIP weekends where I basically spent 3 days with a client setting up their complete marketing funnel and then offering them support afterward. And we would basically meet for 6 hours a day. At first, I would travel to them. So I got to go to all sorts of cool places like Jamaica and Costa Rica and LA. And so, I got to go all over the world to different cool places. But then I got tired of traveling. So I started offering it on Zoom virtually. And people love that because they could have the 3-day weekend on 3 non-consecutive days. So we might meet for 3 weeks, 1 day a week, or meet 2 days 1 week, 1 day the next. So they like to be able to break it up that way. And they also saved $2,000 because I didn't have to travel and cover those costs. And then I also had a third way that people could do it where they came to me. This was when I was living in Colorado Springs. Bottom line is, like, we would spend 3 days together one way or another, setting them up for a system to get ongoing results. I started off charging $5,000 to travel to clients. In my head, I was budgeting about $2,000 for travel. So I was making $1,000 a day. So then when I offered the virtual version, that was 5,000 minus 2,000. So that was 3,000. And then if they would come to see me, it depended on who covered the cost, but it worked out to me making about 3,000 for my time and 2,000 for logistics and travel. But then I raised the price. And then I raised the price again, and then I offered a VIP week for 25,000, and it kept working. So basically, it's people spending time with you to set up a system of getting ongoing results. Now, the thing that made it irresistible to most people was a payment plan. And I mentioned the payment plan earlier. When I was charging $7,000, for example, I was giving people a $500 a month payment plan. Well, that goes out over a year. So I wanted to make sure the support I offered them was 2 years of laser coaching, not 1, just so they'd have more support than their payment plan went on for. But that's what made it irresistible was the payment plan. Like, I know that was a factor. And the people who paid the full amount up front, great. But if people wanted a payment plan, that's what caused them, when they realized it in my marketing, they could have the payment plan. That's what made them raise their hands and say, I want this thing. And so $500 a month is what I use for the weekends. I did $1,000 a month for the VIP weeks because it was 25,000, and that would have gone on like 4 years or something at $500 a month. So I know I talked fast there, but does that make sense?
Yeah, yes. And I think that you're right. Now, when you did the installment plan option, do you ask for a little bit more? So it's the same price.
Yeah, that was one of the appealing things, right? Because I knew most people wanted the payment plan. So I said, we can even do a payment plan as low as $500 with no finance charges. And they really appreciate that. They're like, wow, thank you. So they loved it. And one thing, I don't like to offer payment plans on like an online course because people flake out and they don't really feel obligated to make sure you have their updated credit card, stuff like that. But with the VIP weekends, because you're spending 3 days with them, you develop such a deep trust, bond, rapport that I did have a couple of people flake. I delivered somewhere between 75 and 80 of these. And I had a couple of people flake out and I wouldn't hear from them again. Hopefully they weren't in the emergency room. But for the most part, they made all their payments. And so I sold a whole lot more than I would have if I didn't have a payment plan. So right. I highly recommend the payment plan. And another thing that's really cool is when you've got 10, 12, 14 clients out there all making these $500 payments, you get a steady stream of money coming into your business each and every month for work you've already done, and it really sustains you. And then you can start experimenting in areas of your business and trying things out. And if it fails, it's okay. You're still getting paid from all those clients that you've already served. So I love the almost passive income feeling of it over time.
And as a question from like an administrative background here, how do you set up with the is that through a program that automatically deducts the money from their credit card? Do you have a system like that, or do you actually bill them? Do you actually just like send them an email and say your payments due for this payment plan?
Yeah.
How do you
I've
do
got
that?
someone who actually travels all over the world for me and knocks on doors. It's great. He collects money. He's got a baseball bat. No.
Rob
Yeah. So
sent
I
me.
just use Stripe and PayPal. Using Stripe and PayPal, you can set up links to where people are paying the amount automatically. You don't want to invoice them and have them think about it every month. Like, do I want to make this payment, or maybe I'll wait a week before paying it? You want that money coming out automatically.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's you're doing that stuff in the back end.
Yeah. When they say yes, then they get a link that automatically charges them X number of payments. Maybe it's 14 payments of $500 a month, and they don't have to make all their payments before having the weekend. If I was traveling, I'd try to get at least 2 payments.
Yes.
So that
That's a smart thing to do.
Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes, I would just trust people, and I was almost never burned by it. Like I said, a couple people flaked out. But people seem to really appreciate being able to have it. I had some people pay for the whole thing, and I think they still haven't scheduled it yet. So I mean, there are a few of those out there too. When you sell enough of them, you'll have all sorts of situations. But as long as they made their first payment, that showed me they were serious. I went ahead and decided to trust them, just like they're trusting me.
And so approximate idea of the fee range for a VIP weekend. It doesn't have to be a weekend, an actual weekend, but it's 3 days of like intense, like one-on-one coaching. What is a good range? What would you say?
Sure. Yeah.
3,000, 5,000, something around that?
Sure. And as far as it being 3 days, that's just what I figured it actually would take for me to get my stuff done, my model, my results model, like how I get results for clients. It was going to take us 3 days. In your niche, if it only take you 1 day, then you can do that, or maybe 3 half days. It's not trying to force your stuff into 3 days, but that's what worked well for me. So you can make it any length that makes sense. The reason I called it a VIP weekend is that people love a 3-day weekend. There's good feelings around the weekend. So, sometimes it was in the middle of the week, but we still called it a VIP weekend. So I just want to clarify that you can structure yours any way you wish. However, as far as the price, like in my mind, I wanted to make at least $1,000 a day for my time. So I charged $5,000 where I would actually cover my travel costs and hotel costs. And then just in my mind, I budgeted $2,000 for that. I stayed at cheap hotels. Like I really tried to be as profitable as possible, but I wanted to know that I'm still being paid for some of my time. So in my head, it was earning $1,000 a day for this type of thing. But I had to keep raising my prices. And this is something we find out as we become more successful is we can no longer justify doing that same work for this old price. So we have to raise our prices. That's how I've always raised my prices is I just can't justify doing the same thing for this low amount of money, this relatively low amount of money that used to mean a lot to me, but now it's not worth my time. So I started raising the prices, and then I turned it into VIP weeks and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I've had to do the same. Well, it's so much of the stuff that's going on in the world with inflation and all that stuff. But what I find is because I just don't have as much time. I don't have hours and hours and hours of time. So my time is very precious. And so I've had to also raise my rates on certain, especially one-on-one things. Group is a little bit different, but we're working on that right now. Oh my gosh, I am so happy that you joined us today, and I know that both the listeners and the viewers watching on YouTube, their minds are blown. They're excited. They want to get started. They want to jump into this, and we've got a special link that is going to be in the show notes. All they have to do is take a look at the show notes, and there's a link that you give them a free report and webinar so they can actually dive into this stuff a little bit deeper, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it goes into much more structured detail about the whole laser coaching model. It also gets you on my email list where you get exposed to other ideas and programs, things like that. So yeah, I'd be thrilled, Christine, if some of your audience would like to learn about laser coaching.
I'm sure they will. And I'm glad I'm on your newsletter list, your email list, because you send me things and it sparks something in my brain. And I go, yeah, why can't I do that? I can do that.
Yeah.
And I will be contacting you personally as well, because I would love your coaching. I would love to have you be my coach in many different ways. But I think that you've got a wealth of knowledge. um I do trust you, and I feel that you're heart-centered as well. So I will be reaching out to you as well, Rob
Oh,
Goyette. Thank
well,
you
thank
so
you,
much.
Christine.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I just want to replant that seed about the trust and irresistible offer. Like, that is the formula for selling your stuff. If you got nothing else from this conversation, just look at your own stuff and think, how can I maximize trust and how can I make my offer more irresistible? And when you do that, you're going to sell more.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Nice.
Thank you again, Rob. And I want to thank you, wonderful listeners. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts and Spotify, thank you so much. If you resonated with this program, share it with others. Please make sure you share it with others. And for those watching on YouTube, you got to see my guest in all of his glory. Please also like and share this video as well. Until next time, as I always say, remember to think outside that damn box. Oh, and if you want more information about my coaching, you can go to christineblosdale.com. If you want more information about this podcast, go to outoftheboxwithchristine.com. Until next time, have a beautiful day and get those packages going. Make some money, honey.